Hi, welcome to Article Reading for Juniors. This is Neil, and today we're going to talk about this article about hat making in the 19th century. The first question we will look at today is number 3. Scroll down to it. By reading the paragraph on lines 1 through 10, we can infer that this article was written when. So when was this article written, based on information in the first paragraph? Infer means figure out, as the question tells you, and it's more like an educated guess. You have enough information in the paragraph to figure it out. Well, look at the time periods here. It says if we compare a hat shop of 50 years ago to a hat factory today. So he's trying to find information about hat factories from 50 years ago, right? And to discover the old method of hat making, the 50 years ago method, we can look at an article from the Sears Guide to Knowledge published in 1844. So he's trying to figure out something about 50 years ago, and he's looking at an article published in 1844. We can assume then that this article that we're reading was written in 1894, 50 years after the article about the old hat making process written in 1844. So we would look for 1894 as an answer. Is it A, 1800? No, because we're looking for something 50 years after 1844. Get rid of A. What about B, 1844? That's when the first article was written in Sears Guide to Knowledge, but not when the article that we are reading was written. So get rid of that too. What about C, 1894? That's exactly what we're looking for, right? So you'd click that, and there's your answer. The last one in 2012, that doesn't make sense because it's talking about hat making 50 years ago, which 50 years ago from today would be 1962, right? Which is way after 1844. And I don't know how they would have written an article about future hat making processes in 1844. Let's scroll down to question 5. According to lines 12 through 36, which of the following items was not found in an old-fashioned hat shop? We've seen these before. What you're looking for is something that the author does not mention was in a hat shop in the mid-1800s. So what I usually do with these is look at the answer choices and just try to cross them out when I find them in the paragraphs. We start here, a bow and arrow. Now, do you see anything about a bow and arrow in the hat shop? Oh, snap, the cord of a bow like that of a bow and arrow against the fur. So it compares something to a bow and arrow, but it doesn't say that there's actually a bow and arrow in the shop. I'm going to guess that A is the answer, but first I'm going to find the other things to make sure that those are in the hat shop, because that means they're definitely wrong. Rolling pin. Does it say there's a rolling pin somewhere in the hat shop? Yep. They would twist, press, and rub the material with a rolling pin for about 2 hours in a traditional hat shop. So we know it's not B. What about a sharp knife? Does it say that there's a sharp knife? Here we go. Men using knives. So we know that there are knives being used in this hat shop. Get rid of C. And strong chemicals. Does it mention anything about chemicals? It does say different chemicals. It does say acid. Now, acid's a very strong chemical, so we can assume that D is also in the shop because it says so in the passage. Bow and arrow, though, is not in the shop. Something like a bow and arrow is, but not an actual bow and arrow. The last question we'll look at is question number 6, right here. According to lines 12 through 36, which of the following words best describes the process by which hats were made 50 years before this article was written? To figure this out, we're going to look at those lines again. And does it say that they are complex? What does complex mean? It means it takes a lot of steps. There's a lot to it. It's a really long and involved process. Those lines do seem to be pretty involved. I mean, first someone has to catch the animal and get the skin, then the women pull the outer hairs from the skin, then the skins are cut into the right shape, Then the men lay the fur on a bench and snap the cord of the bow against the fur. Then they would make the hat. And you have to have lots of practice to do it well. Then there's also this part about making the felt. To make the felt, you had to do all of this other stuff. It sounds like a pretty complex process. Now, I would probably go ahead and choose A. What about B, expensive? Does it say anything in there that it's a very expensive process? I don't see anything about money, actually, at all. So I would probably not choose expensive as the right answer. Get rid of it. What about quick? Like we said before, this seems to take a long time. There's a bunch of different steps in this process. So it's not a very quick one. Get rid of quick. And simple is the opposite of what you're looking for. Again, this process takes a bunch of different steps with a bunch of different people doing a bunch of different complicated jobs. Simple is not the right answer. We know then that A is correct, and so we click A and we get it right. That's all for today. If you have any more questions, please feel free to click on the forum where you can ask the question writers to explain certain things that you didn't hear in the tutorial or in the written tutorial. I look forward to talking to you tomorrow, and I hope you have a good night. Bye.